tell us about your experience with your horse, whether float loading or beforehand, or what you thought of the training as well. But yeah, just your general thoughts about your loading experience over your lifetime and what's happened today.
Yeah, so I've had a few horses that have had floating accidents, unfortunately. One of the horses is William, and
This is William?
This is William.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had a floating accident when someone else was floating him a few years ago, and I haven't felt like I've had the skill set to help work him through it. So I've engaged with a few different trainers, and I've had a lot of other people float him and truck him for me, and a lot of them haven't been very successful, and they've actually just caused sort of more trauma for him.
So would you say a lot of them haven't been, or all of them haven't been?
All of them.
Okay.
All of them. I mean, he's been able to get on some of the occasions, but it hasn't been a comfortable experience. No, exactly.
So it's been very stressful?
He's been very stressed about going on, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And then even if he has gone on, he's often regressed back to the original accident he had he's actually done that 3 times now. So that's why I engaged with Norm, hoping there was another way, and also hoping to empower myself in the process, because I felt every time that someone else has then handled my horse and put him through another negative floating experience, I found it to be quite violating and at times a bit abusive towards him, depending on the specific person's training techniques. But I haven't found any that have been very positive for him until now.
Yeah.
So today's float session has been really important for William to be able to get past the floating anxiety that he has and the trauma from the accidents that he's had as well. And it's also been really empowering for me, so that I'm not having to rely on anyone else to float my horse for me and possibly put him through another negative experience.
So I've actually visited you in New South Wales, and I'm based in Victoria, and it just so happened I was coming up this way on holidays, and that worked out very well. But prior to that, you did buy the online training.
Yes.
And timing wise, you hadn't had much time to have a look at it, but you've had a look at one session.
Yes.
So what did you think of the online training session?
Yeah, I
so far?
found the online training session definitely prepared me for you coming out here, because I had that background knowledge as to the training techniques on the ground, the groundwork techniques that we use, and also seeing you put a horse on the float, and also seeing the amount of time and the persistence or the consistency of doing it as well. It's not just to get the horse on and then it goes off and then, oh no, the horse doesn't float. It's like there's a bit of seems like a method to it, and
so structure.
A bit, yeah. There's structure to it. So that was
and a lot of patience.
A lot of patience. That was really helpful, because to be able to see it happen, and then I've seen a couple of the videos in full, and I found that very helpful. I felt like I didn't have the tools, the skill set myself to...
It's going to get a bit windy here, sorry.
Yeah.
It's alright, keep going.
So I wanted to engage with Norm to get him to come out, because William has had 3 accidents in the float, and I wanted to do the right thing by him as well as myself. So that's why I wanted to engage with Norm, who was a lot more experienced than myself.
Yeah. So did you find what I did much different to what's on the training online?
Not so much. I think the only difference may have been that this felt a bit quicker, in that getting him into the float seemed quicker than the one that I had watched, where there was a lot of patting the horse. When I watched, the horse went in and there was a lot of patting of the horse, and it was really kind of micro steps of building up that confidence, I suppose.
Well, that's going to vary depending on each horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I suppose you've tailored the session to my specific horse.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the important thing is it is a structure, it is an outline, but at the end of the day we do have to just tweak it a little here and there to cater for our own horse, and that's not a difficult job, and that's something that you just have the right feel for anyway. And as long as you've got patience and remember the techniques, it'll fall into place. Yeah.
And that has been something that I have found people have maybe found challenging with William, because I have noticed he's the type of horse that often will need that little bit longer to maybe think about it, but then I guess it's the pressure and release as well. It's like, how much pressure do you put on and how much release do you offer? And I don't feel like I've found anyone yet that's really understood this horse very well, but I definitely can say today things went really well with Bill today with Norm, and there were times where he did express how he was feeling.
You mean me or the horse?
No, the horse. You know, through a rear or what I suppose he reared on a few occasions.
Yes.
But that was a good thing, and that wasn't something that we needed to avoid or label as being like a really negative. It was just his response to that situation, and Norm helped to work him through it. And that's then when he was more comfortable on the float, is actually working through that time when he did rear and then get back in.
Yeah, because he did have a big change emotionally, didn't he, after all that?
Yeah, he did.
Well, thank you, Natalie. Very nice of you to share those comments, and I've enjoyed the training, and hopefully William has too, and I know that you have too.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.